Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you once again for a little bit of an update after today's, what's the right word for it? Strange, I'd probably say, press conference with Mikel Arteta. It's our first press conference since football and Arsenal and everything, the world went into lockdown due to the coronavirus. It's been a long 3 months, but today we had our first virtual press conference with Mikel Arteta, which was a slightly odd experience, with the Arsenal head coach fielding questions from various members of the media. A few teething problems as you'd expect with technology, plenty of people on mute, and Mikel Arteta not hearing questions and everything like that. It was always bound to happen. I don't think we're the best of sort of technical whizzes anyway in the media room at football grounds, and so it was always bound to be a bit of a disaster. But we got through it eventually. Mikel Arteta answered our questions, and I thought I'd just pop on in now and just briefly update you on what he had to say and the main headlines from today's press conference. We got a start of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Obviously, I'm sure you would have seen Aubameyang's comments over the weekend, speaking to Telefoot over in France about his future, admitting that there was no deal currently on the table. Sort of said that the reason for the impasse was more down to Arsenal's side than his side. Said that Arsenal hold the keys, and basically seemed to be putting a little bit of pressure on Arsenal as that contract situation gets, more and more spotlight falls on it. He's only got a year left, obviously. Very soon to have under a year left. And Mikel Arteta was quizzed on this more than once during the press conference today. He gave a few different answers. Just talk you through the main bits to come from that. He said that he basically agreed with Aubameyang, said it's up to Arsenal to convince Aubameyang to stay. He says, I think it's our responsibility to make him feel that it is the right next step in his career. In order to do that, he needs to feel valued. I think he needs to feel that he belongs to us and we want him. And Arteta went on from that, said that he has a very good relationship with Pierre, someone he can talk to face, and that he gets on very well with him. He says discussions are ongoing with Pierre, his agent, his family, about the stay. And he says he is hopeful that Pierre will extend his contract. Says we have many discussions with Pierre, his family, and his agent, and I'm pretty positive that we can find the right agreement for all parties. So that's a fairly encouraging tone from Arteta there, speaking about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's future. He also says, as I think we all know, that Champions League qualification would certainly help with talks over a new contract for Auba, but it's going to be very difficult for Arsenal to qualify for the Champions League. So it's just interesting. Certainly a little encouraging sign from Arteta there, saying that he's pretty positive that agreement can be found. The fact is with Aubameyang, he is happy in Arsenal. He really likes London. He likes Arsenal. He loves Mikel Arteta. The pair of them get on very, very well. It is just going to be a footballing decision for a 31-year-old striker. His last big move, his last big contract. If a big Champions League club comes knocking, it's going to be hard for him just to bat away that interest and commit to Arsenal, who looks like aren't going to be in the Champions League, might not even be in the Europa League next season. So it's purely a footballing thing for Aubameyang, and I think that was quite clear by what Mikel Arteta said today. And he knows that Arsenal have to prove to Aubameyang that that the club's ambitions match Aubameyang's. He also talked a little bit about Bukayo Saka's contract as well, while discussing Pierre's. He says, we are trying as a club to finalise the deals that are more urgent and are a priority for us. The ones that you are talking about, Saka and Aubameyang, they are both really important, not just for now, but for the future of this club as well. And if the club has something to announce, they will do it at the right moment. Now, the fact is they don't have anything to announce at the moment. So we've got to wait and see whether Aubameyang and Saka will sign their new deals and stay at the club. Whether that will happen in the near future, as far as I'm aware, I doubt it. I think we're going to have to wait until the pre-season, which is going to be a very quick pre-season, considering how the current season is being prolonged and going into August. So I think we're going to have to wait there, and things will slowly become a little bit clearer in terms of what happens with Auba and Bukayo Saka. In terms of team news ahead of Wednesday night's game to Manchester City, very, very positive from Mikel Arteta. He says everyone's okay. Obviously, you've got to take Callum Chambers out of that equation because of his long-term injury. But he said everyone's okay. I think he can't have been thinking about Lucas Torreira at that point. I think that Torreira's probably slipped under the radar a little bit there because he's way behind the others in terms of preparation. He hasn't played in any of the friendlies, so I'm not expecting to see Lucas Torreira involved at Manchester City on Wednesday night. But other than that, he says everyone's okay, so that is good news for Arsenal. Certainly, it's going to be difficult enough at Manchester City, so you want to have pretty much a full squad, and it appears Arsenal will be travelling to the Etihad with a fairly full and functioning squad. So that's positive news. He spoke as well. He spoke about Eddie Nketiah, basically how the break in play in his 3-month play might have affected Nketiah because he was obviously in very good form, and he just says we treat Eddie as an important part of the squad. We have to make a very important decision not to let him go. I watched him train. I'm convinced he's the right player for us to move us to the next level and that he can contribute in a big way to the way we want to play. He's been fantastic so far. So real backing for Eddie Nketiah there. It's going to be interesting to see who Arteta goes with at Manchester City. Before the lockdown, Nketiah was slightly ahead of Lacazette in the pecking order. You've got to think Nketiah obviously started the last 3 Premier League home games before the break, but Laka was coming back into goal-scoring form. He'd scored 3 goals in 4 games prior to the break. He scored the winner against West Ham in the very last game before football was shut down. He scored twice in both friendlies that Arsenal have had now in the last couple of weeks as they get prepared for Manchester City. So it'll be interesting to see who Mikel goes with. Will it be the experienced Lacazette, or will it be the younger Nketiah? Because once again, we're expecting Aubameyang to play on the left-hand side and that central striker spot to be filled by one of the two, Nketiah and Lacazette. It'll be interesting to see who he goes with for that one. I think I got a hunch it's going to be Lacazette. I just think the more experienced player, strong player is back to goal as well, which Arsenal are going to need because they're not going to have too much possession at Manchester City. So when the ball does go up the pitch, they need it to stick, and then he can play the ball into the runners, the pace who could go in behind, possibly Pepe or Aubameyang, sort of running in from the flanks with their pace to get in behind the Manchester City defence, which can be quite suspect at times, and we know the fullbacks do bomb forward. On the friendlies against Charlton and Brentford, he said it was a nice practice for us, get a little bit of a feeling about competing a match again. Wasn't too bothered about the results or anything like that. He says, physically, we haven't played a game of football for 3 months and we wanted to give players some minutes. We managed to do that without any injuries, so it was a really positive test for us. So he was very happy. He knows it's going to be a really difficult game. Obviously, there was lots of talk in the press conference about Pep Guardiola and him and the relationship the two have had. I'm not going to bore you with that. We've heard it all before. So I won't go into the sort of Pep stuff. I'm sure you've read it in the build-up to the game 3 months ago, but it was shelved. Yeah, he says he says an awful lot about Arteta. Just going back to the fitness of the squad ahead of Wednesday's game, I'll just go through that before I finish this little update. He says, so far everybody is okay, so we'll see how training goes tomorrow to pick the right team and the right squad. Again, it's going to be different with the amount of substitutes that we have on the bench and the amount of substitutes that we can do. So we have to think about how we can do that. Obviously, that's him talking about the fact that Arsenal and all Premier League clubs now, between now and the end of the season, can use up to 5 substitutes in a game. Benches are going to be expanded to 9 players. 5 substitutes can come on. So, that opens up an awful lot of opportunities for not just Arteta, but some of the players as well who haven't been getting many minutes, and potentially some of the younger players as well. So, but Arsenal, heading up to Manchester City in good shape in terms of injuries, and Aubameyang was the big point of discussion in today's press conference. Head over to goal.com right now. I've got a piece on there from Arteta's press conference about his comments on Aubameyang, and plenty more on goal.com in the build-up to Arsenal versus Manchester City on Wednesday night. Thanks once again for joining me. Stay safe, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.